All right, so we are recording. So yeah, like I said, thank you so much for being here. My name is Brittany, Business Success Coach with Practice Better, and I'm joined with Meerah today. She is our Customer Success Specialist. So if you've ever utilized our help at Practice Better email, maybe you've had the opportunity to chat with her. So this month we're to be going over note and note template features. So notes allow you to chart and record information from recent appointments, forms, and other interactions with your clients, while templates allow you to quickly create notes and charts that you frequently want to capture, kind of consistent information during client sessions. So templates really give you the framework to use as a structure that you can then go on to customize for a client. And we're going to show you some really great examples of them today. So I know that, well, I consider them to be kind of essentials, right? So note and note templates may be features that you're already using. But what we want to show you today is really best practices so you can optimize and get the most out of them. So really, we're going to show you how when you create note templates, they save you so much time. There's a lot of good practices that you can start to introduce that are going to format them and organize them in a really great way. We'll show you how to import information from completed forms directly into your notes. You'll learn how to kind of package notes with other resources. So things like extra documents, protocols, some diagnosis codes if you're someone who utilizes those. And really just show you ways that you can up-level a feature that you might already be using. So I love notes. You probably love them too because they're such a great way to capture information that maybe doesn't fit into a intake form. Sometimes things come up in conversation that are still really great information, pieces of, things from clients that we want to keep in mind, but they don't necessarily fit into a nice, tidy little question that we're going to put on an intake form. They're a really fundamental part of determining the direction you plan to take for the protocol. And really, it's a great way to ensure that the client and the practitioner are on the same page. So Meerah is actually going to go ahead and share her screen. We're going to turn off our cameras during this deep dive so that you can really focus on the demo as Meerah's doing that. But before we do that, I just want to know how many of you are currently utilizing note templates in your practice. So leave that in the chat. Let us know which of you who of you, I guess, are using that feature. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video as well. And just so you know, this is really the format that we're going to be doing this deep dive in. So Meerah's going to show you, and I'm going to kind of talk you through a lot of great information, and then from there, you guys will see it. So I'm just going to see if I can share. Allow Meerah to do this. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so Meerah, you can go ahead and see if that will work.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, there she is. There's her face.
Hi, everyone. I was just a green bee for a second. As Brittany mentioned, my name's Meerah. I am the customer success lead at Practice Better. So if you've ever sent in a ticket, you've probably heard from me at some point. I also pop in and out of the Facebook group as needed. So I will be taking over the demo portion. So Brittany, are you ready for me to share my screen?
Yeah, I'm going to turn off my camera so we can see your
Sounds
screen.
good.
I'm going to run through the information and then demo. Meerah's going to pick up the demo from there.
All right, so I'm stopping my video as well so we can focus on the screen at hand. Okay, great. So I shared my screen. If you're having any issues, please let us know in the chat and we'll adjust. Okay, so let's jump right.
We can see it. Everything's
perfect. All right, so the first thing you'll have to do to set up your note templates is go to My Practice.
Oh, you know what, Meerah? I might just run us through a little bit of information first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to let everyone know, if you have questions along the way, Meerah and I are going to be trying our best to answer them throughout and a few at the end. So leave those in the chat for us. But yeah, I'm going to run us through and then Meerah's going to jump into the demo here. All right, can you hear me? Sorry, I wasn't sure if I cut out there. You guys can hear me? Maybe somebody can just let me know.
We can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, so let's firstly talk about when you should be using notes, because there are a lot of different opportunities as you're working with your clients. So the first one is, before a session, you may want to create a note to capture anything that you want to discuss in an upcoming session. So, you are likely reviewing their intake forms ahead of the time, but if there's any noteworthy information from the client's profile or the forms that you've collected to date, these can kind of be input into a note to act as a reminder so that during that consultation, you're sure to bring it up for further discussion or kind of just keep it top of mind. So that would be the first kind of situation you might want to use a note. The next will be, of course, during a session. So as you're conversing with the client, you want to have your notes open. So as I kind of briefly mentioned, there are details that will come up in conversation that you'll likely want to make note of. So, like I said, there's sometimes things that come up that don't always get captured in a neat and tidy question that we're able to capture on an intake form. So, when we're paying attention to the conversation, there's sometimes these little bits and pieces that actually give us a lot of direction as a health practitioner when we're starting to put together a plan and create a protocol. So during the session, of course, you'll want to be taking notes. And then likewise, after the session, it's a good opportunity to kind of summarize everything up. Oftentimes, you'll want to summarize and share that with the client, and Meerah eventually is going to kind of run you through how to do that, but it's a really good way to kind of keep everything summarized and everyone on the same page. And then likewise, passing information to the client afterwards. So a note can be a really great place to keep your client in the loop and provide information and resources that don't always necessarily fit into a protocol. So a good example of this would be something like maybe a book recommendation, maybe something like a podcast episode, things that come to mind in the midst of a conversation. You'll be chatting and then all of a sudden it reminds you of this really wonderful book you read or a podcast you listened to, and it's something that you think the client would get a lot of value out of. It's really easy to just jot this down in the moment to either remind yourself to include it as a resource, or just, you can go on to later share that note so the client has that information for them. So now that we have kind of a clear idea of all the different times and opportunities of when you'll maybe want to use the note feature, we're going to start talking about the actual creation of notes and note templates. So we have built in a lot of different ways to format your notes so that they can be easy to read, really visually interesting, organized, and just include various styles of information to cater to different types of learners. So, whether your client prefers to read, maybe they want to watch a video or need a visual like a graphic or a chart, we have tools to build all of those things in. So even if you plan to only utilize notes for yourself and you don't intend on sharing with your clients, you can still keep things in a really organized and easy to reformat for yourself. So, between text formatting, images, videos, you have different organization features. You can kind of break things down into sections. And then you can also really make use of client hubs. So Meerah will be showcasing all of these tools in her demo, but I just want to quickly talk about note templates because they kind of are created very much the same. So when you're creating a note template, the formatting tools are going to be virtually the same. The difference and the benefit is that you're saving that template as a framework or a structure, which can later be created specifically for a client and then customized to them. So note templates allow you to quickly create notes and charts that you frequently use with clients during sessions. So all the questions that you want to ask them, all the formatting information you'd like to collect will already be in place. From there, it's just a matter of inputting personalized information from the client. So of course, this is a huge time saver and it keeps the information you're gathering consistent and organized for each and every client. So if you're specialized and you have a niche, of course, you'll likely want to ensure that the types of questions you are asking are consistent with each client too, right? So the information you're writing will stay organized and make sense when you later go back to reference your notes. You can let me know in the chat, have you ever, quickly jotted down information while you're making a note for a client and you kind of do it in the midst of a conversation, and then when you go back to reference that note, you kind of completely forget your train of thought or the context when you made that particular like little jotted note? Templates kind of help you keep all that information in the right spot so you can make sense of everything later. The last thing that I quickly want to mention before we get into our demo is that Practice Better has also built in some pre-built templates that are available for you to use. So if this is brand new to you and you're not currently using templates, these are a great place to start. They can be customized as well. So depending on who you are, what kind of practitioner you are, your scope of practice, we have some various ones that you may want to play around with. So let's pass things over to Meerah. She's going to walk us through some amazing templates she's created to show you today, give you an idea of all the possibilities, and then kind of run you through some of our pre-built templates as well.
Thank you, Brittany, for that. All right, so let's jump right in. So to create a note template, you'll go to My Practice, Note Templates. So you'll notice the red Fast Action button in the bottom right-hand corner. This button will allow you to create a note template from scratch, which I've done here, and I want to go through what I've created to give you some ideas of how you can customize and organize your notes. So let's take a look. So this is my basic functional neurological exam template. So you can reuse this template with all of your clients as needed. As you can see, I have set up multiple tables and I've color coded just to give myself an easier visual so it's not so text heavy. And I also know the areas where I can actually input information. So as you may be aware, currently there isn't an option for you to create check mark boxes in your notes, but by utilizing tables, you can give yourself a workaround to give yourself that option. So let's say this pertains to the left side of my client. I can create a table and write an X wherever it is applicable. So this allows me to indicate some sort of check so that you can verify with your client. So this is just an example of one note template I've created. I'm going to show you the other ones. So here's my client matrix. So I know some people like to use Venn diagrams with clients to give your client an idea of how different elements can all relate back into their health and lifestyle. So as you can see here, I have formatted an image in the middle of the form and I've added text boxes using tables around. So this entire box here was actually created using a table, and I just rearranged all of the cells so that it's in a way that kind of makes sense and it looks like all the text is around the image. So that is one workaround that I did here to kind of replicate a Venn diagram within the system. And then lastly, I created a note for different procedure codes that I use. So as you can see, this note includes placeholders. So placeholders pulls information from your client's record. It pulls information from the basic information, medical history, and lifestyle section. So if those sections are filled out in your client's record, when creating this note for a client, it will pull information if it is applicable. So I want to highlight this over here. This is our text box. So here you have different options. You can add more placeholders. You can see these are all of the placeholders that you can use throughout your notes. You can bold, italicize, underline your notes. You can use colors here. So this allows you to change your font sizes to make your notes a little bit more fun. The more fun the notes are for you and your clients, the easier it will be for you to keep your information organized and easier for your clients to understand what you're relaying back to them. And of course, taking notes is a big chunk of many practitioners' day. So you want to make it as easy for yourself to follow as possible. And again, normal formatting things like creating ordered lists, alignment. Here you can embed a link if needed, and you can add images, videos, insert tables, what have you. You can also use our red fast action button in the bottom right-hand corner to add insurance codes, which I will show you in a second, and to add additional text sections. So scrolling down here, you can see I've added more tables. I've used the tables as a way for me to, again, indicate checks of what is applicable to my client. So this is just to give you an idea of things that you could do. Now scrolling to the top of the note template under procedures and diagnosis. So here I've added all of the procedure codes and all of the diagnosis codes that I normally use with clients when I'm working with them. So of course, you're not going to have all of these procedure codes be imported into your CMS 1500 form, but by adding everything that you could possibly do here, it at least saves you time when you're working with clients so that when you are utilizing this note template, and I'll show you this when we reach our next section, but instead of having to type everything back in, you can just delete whatever is not applicable. And I'll show you how this ties in with the client a little bit later. So this is just to give you an idea of note templates that I have made. If we go back to the red fast action button and select create from templates, if you're not ready to create your own templates yet and you don't have time, don't worry. We do have some note templates for you to use and utilize within Practice Better. So let's take a look at the initial SOAP notes. So this again is a note template from Practice Better. It is already set up with placeholders for you to utilize. It has its own sections here. Again, you can customize and use it however you like. And once you're done building a note template or you want to use one of ours, click the Save button in the top right-hand corner and select Save Template. And then it will be available for you to use again and again with your clients.
All right, thanks, Meerah. Those are such great ideas when it comes to templates, some really creative ways to create those Venn diagrams and different kind of tables and charts, essentially. We did have a question about that Venn diagram, somebody asking if you used an image to create that.
Yes, so you just, whatever images that you have, you can import that into your note template. It's just someone that I had on hand.
Right. So I'm seeing a lot of questions too about the placeholders that Meerah used in her examples. So Leah had a question about what the percentage marks are for. So those percentage marks are representing a placeholder. So people are kind of wondering where the information is being pulled from when they're using placeholders, and essentially kind of all the different options. So Meerah, maybe you can chat a little bit about placeholders and where that information is being taken from.
Yes, so just to divert from this page for a second to make it a little bit more clear, I'm going to quickly head on over to my test client. So this is their client record. The placeholder is going to pull information that's in their basic information, medical history, and diet and lifestyle section. So here is their basic information section. This is just my test client, so not everything is fully filled out as it would be with a real client. But this way, I don't need to keep going back and forth and writing out my client's birth date, for example. If I have that placeholder in the note template, it will pull from the information here. And to answer somebody's question, yes, we will preview towards the end what a note template looks like once it's set with a client and you're good to go.
Yeah, those placeholders are such an amazing way to cut the time consuming flipping back and forth between, you know, a profile or a client hub and inputting name and contact details, birthdays, all of that.
Yes, exactly. And just to expand, so this is just one of the sections it can pull from. It can also pull from, as I mentioned, the medical history. So all of these sections here, if they're filled out with your client, again, this is my test, so it's not as filled out as yours might be. This is all the places that it will be pulling from. All right, so I'm just going to head on back to our original page so that Brittany can continue talking about note templates.
Yeah, maybe before we move on to the next session, Meerah, maybe you can show how you can share note templates with your colleagues so they can incorporate it into their own workflow.
Yes, and I see we did get a question in regards to if you're on a team plan. All right, so once you're done creating your note template, click the 3 dots and select Manage Sharing. If you're in a team plan, you'll see the team sharing section, and you can choose to share it with all your team members or share it with specific team members or specific roles. So maybe you have many templates available, but your team member does not need everything. You can just share it as applicable. And under Share Access Codes, you can share note templates with your colleagues that are also using Practice Better but may not be on your team plan. Let's say you're on a Plus plan and you want to share a code with another user. You'll use this option to share it with them. So you can take this code and give it to them to utilize.
Yeah, that's perfect. So as Meerah just showed, you can really easily share note templates with either your colleagues. Great if you're in a team setting, but also perhaps you have a mentorship side of your business and you want to share resources with your mentees. This is a great way of doing so. I do want to mention that when a colleague accesses the shared template, essentially what Practice Better does is they create a snapshot of it at that point in time and essentially save that to their records. So modifications made to it will not affect your version, meaning that the person who takes that copy, they can change it, but it's not going to affect the original template that you shared with them. And likewise, any modifications you go on to make after sharing won't affect their copy. So you really don't have to worry about anything kind of being messed up or formatting being changed on your end because they're playing around and customizing it. And you also don't have to worry about something you've created being shared out of your control, as your colleagues will not be able to reshare a template that you've shared with them with anybody else. So only the original creator of the document or the template can create that access code and share the resource. Okay, do we have any good questions here? Let's see here. What if your colleague doesn't have Practice Better? How can you share? So Laura, the access code would be for sharing the resource if your colleague does in fact use Practice Better. If you wanted to kind of share the template that you use, there's always the option of downloading and working through it that way, but it's more of a roundabout way of doing it for sure. Okay, so we're going to move on to something that I really love, a feature that I'm really a fan of, and that is snippets. So who currently is using snippets and who is using them with their notes? Let us know in the chat. So snippets are a great way of quickly including frequently used blocks of content when creating notes or even recommendations, sending messages to clients. So they can be used in a variety of ways, but when you're creating a note, they really save you time when it comes to retyping things that you find you're including over and over again. So some examples of when you may want to use a snippet when it comes to note creation is maybe you want to say something along the lines of when the protocol will be delivered. So you can use that snippet to set the expectation up front so your client knows when that final delivery will take place. Maybe it's 1 week after your initial consultation with them. You could have snippets set up based on information in their intake form. So for example, maybe they marked that they have difficulty sleeping. And if they said yes, you could use a snippet to expand on this and then be prompted with questions about their difficulty sleeping so you have more information to work with. You could set up a snippet to include a common answer to a question you get during a session. So, touching on that difficulty sleeping example, maybe your answer to that would be try this meditation before bed. Maybe you want to include a guided video meditation in the snippet, or maybe you want to include something like a disclaimer in your notes. So depending on your scope of practice, this may be something you want to introduce. I know that there are some regulated professions that will have different permissions for things that they can say and do compared to some other professions that are maybe unregulated. So you may want to cover your bases by adding a disclaimer, a little medical disclaimer to keep everybody happy and safe. So lots of different options and ways that you can use snippets. And Meerah is going to show you how you can create snippets.
So I'm currently already here on the snippets page. To locate this section, go to the gear icon in the top right-hand corner and select shortcut and snippets. And that will take you to this page that I'm currently at. To create a new snippet, click on the red fast action button, and then these are the sections that you can fill it out. So I want to show you an example of one that I've set up. So if you select edit beside the snippet, I've named the snippet. I selected rich formatting because I wanted the ability to bold, create a list, and embed a video. So I embedded a video here about some great meditation videos that my client can watch from YouTube. So I embedded that in this link. So instead of me having to write this out, like Brittany mentioned multiple times, if this is a recommendation that I make often to clients, it saves me time when I'm writing my notes for clients if I have a snippet available for this information. And I selected the ability to use this anywhere, but you can make your snippets applicable to specific sections. So let's say you want the snippet only available in notes, but not anywhere else in your platform. You can select that. But for my ease, I just selected any resource. And once you're done, you can select save. And if you click on the three dots beside your snippet, if you're on a team plan, you can share your snippet with your team. That way, if you all are creating similar recommendations for clients, there's kind of a consistency across the board of what you're saying and how you're saying it to everybody.
Yeah, so as Meerah showed, the nice thing about snippets is that they can be used to fit seamlessly into your notes. So, whether they're acting as a prompt or providing information that you routinely include in your note taking, you can format them just the same so that they really seamlessly fit in. Somebody kind of mentioned that it's like a shortcut of just inputting text. And yes, you can kind of think of a snippet something along the lines of copying and pasting, but instead of having to actively always go in, copy it, navigate back, and paste it, you can just hit the title of the snippet and it'll input it. So really convenient, such a time saver there. So let's move on now. So once you have kind of your note created, your templates created, you'll actually then want to begin to use it with a specific client. So creating the note for the client will allow you to then utilize that template, fill it out, and base it on that client's specific information. So there are also opportunities that Meerah is going to run you through when it comes to attaching it to a client, where you can include things such as documents, protocols, tasks, diagnosis codes. So it's a really kind of comprehensive all-in-one place of resources for your clients. Again, Practice Better is all about time saving and streamlining your business. So we wanted to kind of bundle a place where all of these things could be accessible. So Meerah is going to walk us through attaching a note to a client and kind of the steps from there.
Thanks, Brittany. So I kind of did the steps while Brittany was talking, but just to reiterate, so we're going back to My Practice Note Templates. So once you're done your note templates and you're ready to now create notes for your client, you'll select the note template and you'll select Create for Client, and then select the applicable client. So now I'm creating a note for Mary Smith. So the first thing that you want to do when creating the note template is to make sure that you have selected the right date. So automatically it selects the date, but you can change this if needed. You can add a summary. This is optional for you, but it's a great way, especially if you're creating a lot of notes for your client, that you know at a quick snapshot of what this note is pertaining to. So let's say summarizes November 5th session. So you know what this note is relating to. So that's the first thing you'll do. Next, you can go ahead and fill out the applicable sections. Like I showed you, the note template, it will automatically populate here so you can continue building upon your note. And if you need more sections, you'll click on the red fast action button and select add text section, and you can continue adding. Now connecting back to snippets. So why did we show you snippets? There are a couple reasons. So now I'm working with my client and I want to give them a recommendation, and I created a snippet for it. How do I insert that snippet here? So what essentially you're going to do is use the curly bracket. So if you can just see again, this curly bracket here, I'm just highlighting it. You're going to do 2 curly brackets and your snippets are going to show up. So I'm going to select meditation benefits, and you can see my snippet just inserted here. So you can see if you're making a lot of recommendations to your clients and they're the same kind of recommendations you use often, how this can save you time. I don't have to go looking for this YouTube video because it's already been embedded and linked here. I don't need to format anything because I had already pre-planned and created that snippet earlier. Another really cool thing that you can do here is, okay, so let's say I am creating a new recommendation for my client. So let's say as you're working with your client, I'm just going to text here. I think, hey, this is actually some really great stuff that I've written, and I think other clients can benefit from this. So I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to select Save Snippet from a note. So this text that I've created here, I can save this quickly as a snippet so that I can reuse it with other clients if the same kind of recommendation ever comes up again. So you'll save time for the future. So don't think, oh, I already wrote this, I'm going to have to retype it later on. You can just quickly, while you're working and while it's on the top of your brain to do it, you can get that out of the way. So that's kind of how snippets ties into note templates. Another really cool thing that I want to highlight, back if you go to the red fast action button. So we went over adding a text section. You can attach files from your computer's hard drive. Keep in mind there is a limit of 120 megabytes. You can add a task for your client. So let's say with this note, you're giving them some follow-up homework that you want them to do. So I just added a snippet in regards to meditation. Maybe I want to add a task in regards to trying out the video that I linked here so that they know, hey, there's a task that I need to do. I mentioned insurance codes. So if you go to the top of your note template, this is where you'll be able to find everything. But if you want to add insurance codes, you'll have to click on the red fast action button and select add insurance codes. And you'll have to do that manually. So you can see how if you are creating a note template, it is sometimes easier to add all of your codes at the beginning, and then you can just delete the ones that are not applicable to that client just to save you time. Otherwise, you can again go to the red fast action button and just enter it manually. Moving on, you can link a protocol. So if this directly relates to a protocol that you have previously created for your client, you can link that here. And you can see I've linked this protocol. I can link more, and they can access everything here. So this is just an example to show you. So now moving on from there, I want to talk about sharing notes. So to share a note, you have to do 2 steps. You have to select share notes and attach documents. This is kind of like a fail-safe. There's 2 steps that you have to do. This is intended that if you accidentally, let's say, just enable this toggle, it will not share unless you enable both this button and then enable the section that you want to make visible to your client. Brittany, is there anything you want to say in regards to sharing sections within a note with a client?
You know what, it's really just so simple, and it's a great option to ensure both you and the client are on the same page with, you know, the status and the progress and what actually went on during an appointment or a session together. So sharing notes is really a great way of kind of being on the same page, of sharing that anecdotal progress and a glimpse into what's working and not working for the client. So, you know, share them with the client if you want to include resources, or keep them just to yourself. Like there's a lot of ways that you can just make this work for you and how you want to work with them. Some people will choose to keep notes completely private and only deliver information through a protocol. So yeah, just play around and get a feel for what works best for you and your clients.
Yeah, thank you. So once you're done and you're ready to share your note with your client, I recommend doing this at the very end once you finalize your note, is go ahead and click on the save button on the top right hand corner, and you'll see these different options. So I want to explain what this means. So if you select sign and save, this essentially makes your note read only, and it will have your signature. So once it's read only, you can no longer go into this note and edit any of the sharing settings or continue to add to it. It will be as it is. Or you can select save and exit, which will just regularly save the note. And when you select either option, you'll have the opportunity of sending the confirmation email, and your client will be notified that a note has been shared with them, or you can skip this confirmation. Let me just quickly give you an example of a situation when you'll choose skip confirmation. Let's say you're working on multiple notes with this client and they just don't need a second note shared email notification. You can then go ahead and then just select skip. So that is how you save a note with a client. And here you can see I'm in Mary Smith's notes section within her client record. These are all of the notes that I have previously created. So these are the summaries that I created. So this is why I was mentioning it's a great idea for you to add a summary, because now I know, okay, this initial note relates to the November 5th section. And you can kind of see a quick snapshot of what that note contains without having to go into each note. I want to also highlight these different icons and what that means and how you can understand them. So when you see that check mark, it means that note is complete, you're done. And to complete a note, you'll click on the 3 dots beside the note and select completed, so that you know this is done, it's not in progress, I don't need to go back and change anything. This icon, again, as I mentioned, means it's in progress. So let's say you haven't marked it as complete. It's going to portray itself as in progress. If you've shared a note at any point with your client, it's going to show the shared section. And if you signed a note, then you're going to see the sign read only section. Well, sorry, icon displayed on your note. So this is how you can understand the status, and you can also switch between notes that are in progress, completed, if you want to find the ones that are currently in progress to go back and check up on them.
Yeah, so really good point there. I did see some questions about people asking, once it's signed, can things be edited and changed? So like Meerah said, it does become read only. So what I would recommend is, like, if you sign and you send it and you kind of realize that you missed information or you want to add to it, a good thing to do, which is to be duplicating it. So that way,
yeah,
pulling over all
so
that.
let's say that happens. That's a really great point, Brittany. Let's say you've signed a note and you need to add on to it, or you need to build on it and you don't know what to do. So if you will take the signed note, you'll click the 3 dots and you'll select duplicate. This will create a new note. As you can see, it says copy right here. Under today's date, the day you're creating the note, and it will copy all of the content of that note. So everything will be duplicated into a second note, and then you can go ahead and continue to build up on it or make any changes as applicable.
Yeah, that's great. So, you don't have to start from scratch if you sign and save it and then realize something's missing. So you can easily just duplicate and then add to it.
And keep in mind, complete and signed is not the same. So if I want to mark a note as complete, I'll click on the 3 dots and select mark as complete. And if that happens, you can still go back in and adjust the note as needed. If you select sign and save, which is only applicable after you select the save button, you can no longer make any changes to that note. That's the big difference.
Yeah, so somebody is asking, if you duplicate it, can you then delete the original note?
That is totally up to you and depends on if you need to save everything that you've done for your client. If you don't have any restrictions like that, then yes, you can delete anything that you don't need. Otherwise, again, you can leave it as is.
Perfect. So one final thing maybe you can walk us through, Meerah, before we get to a couple of extra questions is sending a note to other practitioners. So if you want to securely share information pertaining to your client with other health practitioners because you're collaborating on the care for the client, you can do so in a note. That's a really great option. And remember that you can kind of keep a section of your note maybe specific to the things that you want another health practitioner to know. You don't have to send the entire note. So there are a couple of ways you can do so that are secure or HIPAA compliant. So maybe Meerah can quickly walk us through these options of faxing and downloading to either print or email.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you'll first have to go to the notes section of your client's record, which I am currently in. You'll click the three dots beside the note and you'll select fax to. So this will allow you, if you know the other practitioner's fax number, you can fax it over to them. And this again, as Brittany mentioned, this is HIPAA compliant. Another option that you can do is if you click the three dots, you can select view as PDF. So let's quickly show you guys a way. Yeah, so we're going to select view as PDF. Please let me know if you're still able to see my screen.
Looks good. We can see it.
Perfect. So here you can see that this is what I've done for my note. So as you can see, this is how everything is kind of portraying it. So once I've looked at all this and it's all good to go, this is everything linked together, I can then download this to my computer, save it on my hard drive, and then do with how I need to.
Yeah, perfect. So easy to then just take that nicely formatted PDF, attach it to an email, or even print it out if you need to drop off a hard.
But keep in mind, if you need to send it to another practitioner in a HIPAA compliant method, then we recommend utilizing fax, as email external to Practice Better is not HIPAA compliant.
Exactly. Yeah. So important to keep in mind depending on your scope of practice and the type of health practitioner that you are. Okay, so we're kind of at the end of our content. So now would be a great time if you've thought of any questions throughout the last hour. So let us know in the chat and we will try and get to as many as we can. I do see one question saying, if you duplicate an email or a note, and you share it, can you unshare the previous note?
So yeah, so if you go in to the shared, I can unselect the toggle and the button and save it, and it will no longer be shared with the client. But keep in mind, if you shared the note and signed it, you can no longer adjust the sharing settings, and that goes for both sharing it with your client and unsharing it.
Yeah, that's really good to know. So somebody, Christine is asking, can you fax to someone or another health practitioner outside of Practice Better?
Yeah, absolutely. So the fax just works as a regular fax. You can fax it to anybody, whether they're on Practice Better or they're not.
And then we're also getting some more placeholder questions. That was a really popular thing that people were excited by. So people are wondering if there's a way to use placeholders in a generic way. So Meerah, maybe you can run us through the different types of placeholders kind of in general that people can use or have options to use.
Yeah, so I want to mention two things because I know someone just mentioned about how do I create notes from forms. So there's a couple ways. The first way is if you go to the form and waiver section within your client's record. So I'm just waiting for that to load. I'll show you a quick shortcut. So let's go to a completed form that my client did. I'm going to click the three dots beside the completed form, and I'm going to select Create Notes. So here I can create a note from my client's completed form, and I can choose to unselect certain questions if I don't need to create a note about that, and select Create. So that will pull all the questions that I selected and my client's answers, and then I can continue building off from here. Or Going back to the question in regards to note templates. So let's go back to my note templates here. So I just want to reread the question. Is there a way to use placeholders in a generic way? In a generic way, I'll show you how to access the placeholders again so you can see. So this is the button. It's the second one from the left. These are the current placeholders. They are quite generic. It's to the client. Like for example, you can only choose from this current list, and you can select the client's name, their birthday, or you can get a little bit more detailed and select the sections within their record like medical history, diet and lifestyle. Does that answer your question? What does notes screen? All right, so I want to quickly answer that. How do you take notes when you're on a video? So I didn't touch upon this when I shared the note with my client, but I'm going to go back into Mary Smith's notes section because this is a really great point, and I'll highlight it right now. So I'm going to open a note. So when you're working with a client, this is a bad example. As you can see, this is a note that's been signed and I can't make any adjustments. Okay, so I'm going to click a note that's not been signed. So let's say I am working with my client and I need to access additional information. The second icon from the top left corner is the client hub. So you'll see the client hub. So this icon, it looks like a little person inside of a circle. When you're in a telehealth call, you will also see this icon, and this icon will open the client hub, and you'll have an option to make quick notes. So these quick notes will save to your client's notes section. This will allow you to take notes during their call with you, but keep in mind with this option, you won't be able to use your note templates. It's just plain notes as such. So going back into the client hub, so the reason the client hub is really great a tool to reference when making notes is, let's say you need to reference some additional information such as your client's protocols. You can open the client hub to see the sections within their client record. You can also open multiple client hubs so that you can cross-reference multiple different things at once. So I want to see, let's say both a previous note with this client and I want to see a protocol. So I can open all of that and reference it while I'm creating this new note. Can the client see the quick note? No. So the quick notes are just quick notes for you to jot down your ideas. I do recommend if you needed to format, you should go back and create it in a new note. So we can create a quick note together actually. So let's do that here. So I'm just going to call it test and save. The note's been created. I'm going to exit. You can see this is the quick note that we just created. So once it's been created, you can go back, as I mentioned, and share it to make it visible to your client. Or you could go back and continue to add on to it, or copy this information and paste it into a note template that you have, so you create it using your formatting.
Such a good way to do it. I love that. Thanks for sharing, Meerah.
Just so I can answer quickly Kathleen's question, can you keep notes open and the video session going? So if you're using telehealth, again, this is specific to telehealth, you won't be able to access your note templates and conduct the telehealth session at the same time. If you go to our help center, we do have a help article specific to taking notes when you're in a video session. When you're in a telehealth session, you will see the client hub icon. It will be visible to you, and you'll be taking the notes through the quick note option. You won't be able to access your note templates. I hope that clarifies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we are getting kind of short on time, so I just want to quickly mention that we do have a great team to help out with any additional questions that we don't get to today. So help at practicebetter.io. I will type it in the chat here. So if we don't get to anything today, that is your best resource. Nicole asked a question. She was saying that sometimes we had some questions written in the templates and was wondering whether clients can actually edit them. No, they don't have access to edit a note. Those questions would be there to prompt the practitioner so that they're remembering to ask in a session perhaps, and then the practitioner will be able to type in the corresponding answer upon talking to the client and learning that from them. So I hope that clarifies for Nicole. I think we're going to kind of end questions there so that we can say goodbye to you guys. So I'm actually going to turn our videos back on. Meerah, if you want to join me.
Yes, let me. Hi, everyone.
Oh, so if you want to just make me host, then I can join you, Meerah.
Yes, hold on one second.
Just click the participants there, the guests.
All right. Yep, you're host now.
Perfect. Now you can see my face too. So just wanted to pop on here for a quick thank you for joining us live and for watching our deep dive this month on notes and note templates. We really value your time. We know that you guys are all very busy. So thanks for joining us. We love interacting with our community. That kind of wraps things up for today. I know notes are such an essential part of running your practice. So I hope you are leaving with some additional kind of tips and tricks to bring into your future note taking and get creative with your note templates. I'm sure Meerah inspired a lot of future templates that are going to be created. So.
And just so to reiterate, these aren't templates available. These are ones that I have made just to give you some inspiration, because I know a lot of people just think note templates are boring, but they can be really beautiful. I had fun making some of these. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to the CS team at help@practicebetter.io, or you can check out our help center where we do have more information on building note templates, and also our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and this will be posted on YouTube and you'll all be getting a replay. I know I've said that a couple of times, but it's a popular question. So you guys can rewatch this and reference it whenever you like. So again, thanks so much for joining, everyone. Maybe you'll get to connect with us again soon in the Facebook group or otherwise. So we look forward to that. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.